Listen to me. Life is not about what happens to you. It's about what you become after it happens. Every scar on your soul is proof that you survived what was designed to destroy you. But here's the truth most people run from. Survival is not enough. You weren't built just to breathe. You were built to rebuild. You were built to rise. The question is not, why did it happen to me? The question is, what will I do with what happened to me? Because the pain that you avoid today becomes the prison that controls you tomorrow. But the pain you face, the pain you rebuild with, becomes the foundation of a life that inspires. Listen to me. Life is not about what happens to you. It's about what you become after it happens. Every scar on your soul is proof that you survived what was designed to destroy you. But here's the truth. Most people run from survival is not enough. You weren't built just to breathe. You were built to rebuild. You were built to rise. The question is not, why did it happen to me? The question is, what will I do with what happened to me? Because the pain that you avoid today becomes the prison that controls you tomorrow. But the pain you face, the pain you rebuild with, becomes the foundation of a life that inspires. You know what I learned? Life doesn't ask for permission before it knocks you down. It doesn't say, hey, are you ready for this storm? Are you prepared for this loss? Can you handle this heartbreak? No. It just comes. And when it comes, it will break you. But listen to me. Being broken is not the end. Being broken is the beginning. Because when something breaks, it gives you a chance to rebuild. And when you rebuild, you don't just go back to what you were. You rise stronger than you ever imagined. Every single one of us has faced a moment where everything we thought was solid crumbled under our feet. Maybe it was your business collapsing. Maybe it was that job you gave years to only for them to tell you we don't need you anymore. Maybe it was a relationship that you thought would last forever, and suddenly you're standing there with pieces of your heart scattered on the floor. And the temptation is to stay down, to sit in the rubble and cry out, why me? But hear me, your setback is not your sentence. The fall is not final. The breakdown is not permanent. It is the raw material for your rebuild. As the old philosopher Seneca once said, sometimes even to live is an act of courage. That's real. Just surviving the blow takes strength. But we were not made only to survive, we were made to thrive. The courage to keep living after a failure is step one. Step two is standing back up and saying, I will build again. Think about gold. Do you know how gold is purified? It has to go through fire, extreme fire. The heat strips away the dirt, the impurities, until only the purest, strongest metal remains. That's you in the fire of your setbacks. That's your life being refined. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it burns. But it's burning off everything that doesn't belong to the next version of you. One of my own quotes I live by is this: the pain you feel in your breaking is the blueprint for your building. If you're broke financially, that pain should push you to learn discipline with money. If you're broke emotionally, that pain should teach you how to build boundaries and value yourself. If you're broke spiritually, that pain is your invitation to seek deeper meaning and connection. Every bruise is a lesson. Every scar is instruction. And think about history. Look at Abraham Lincoln. He lost multiple elections, failed in business, faced deep personal loss, and still he rose to become one of the most impactful leaders the world has ever seen. The beauty wasn't that he never failed. The beauty was that he rebuilt every single time. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think rebuilding means starting from scratch, pretending nothing happened, sweeping the pain under the rug. No. Real rebuilding means using the very bricks life threw at you. The same rejection, the same loss, the same embarrassment. It becomes the stone you stand on. Like the ancient Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold, making the cracks the most beautiful part of the piece. Your brokenness is what makes your story shine. Now don't misunderstand me. It's not easy. Rebuilding requires patience, discipline, and a mindset shift. You have to stop asking, why did this happen? And start asking, what can I do with what happened? Because once you shift that perspective, the game changes. You are no longer the victim of your story. You are the author rewriting the next chapter. And I promise you this, once you rebuild, you will look back at what tried to destroy you, and you'll thank it. You'll thank the storm for teaching you resilience. You'll thank the fire for showing you your strength. You'll thank the betrayal for opening your eyes. You'll thank the loss for awakening your hunger. Because without those breaks, you would have never built the version of you that is rising right now. So if you're broken, if you're down, if you're lost in the rubble, let me tell you, your story is not over. This is the part where you rise. This is the part where you take the pieces and you inspire the world, not with a perfect life, but with a rebuilt one. The world doesn't sit near the you that never broke. The world is waiting for the you that chose to rebuild. Most people spend their whole lives running from pain. They bury it, they numb it, they hide it behind fake smiles and distractions. But let me tell you something, pain you run from becomes a chain that follows you everywhere you go. Pain you face, that becomes power. And if you don't own your pain will own you. See, too many of us treat pain like an enemy, when in reality, it's a teacher. The philosopher Rumi once said, the wound is the place where the light enters you. That means the very thing you are avoiding is the very thing designed to shape you. Every broken place in your life is a doorway for growth, but you can't walk through it if you keep pretending it doesn't exist. Look at it like this. If you break your arm and you never get it set, you never get it treated, it heals wrong, it heals crooked, and you carry that weakness with you for the rest of your life. Emotional pain works the same way. If you don't confront it, if you don't acknowledge it, it will heal wrong. It will make you bitter when you should be better. It will make you afraid when you should be bold. And I know it's hard. Nobody wants to sit in the dark. Nobody wants to feel the weight of their mistakes, the sting of their losses, the ache of their failures. But what if I told you that the weight you carry is the very weight that's building your strength? Just like in the gym, when you lift resistance, it hurts, your muscles tear. But that tearing is the only way they grow. Life works the same way. That pain, that resistance, it is building you. If you stop running from it and start lifting it. Here's the truth I live by. Your pain is either the prison you die in or the passport you rise with. You decide. You can let the pain of your past trap you, replaying the same excuses, the same bitterness, the same why me, over and over again, or you can say, this pain is my passport. It's proof that I've been somewhere, I've survived something, and now I'm moving forward with a new stamp on my life. Think about Viktor Frankl, the man who survived the horrors of the concentration camps during World War II. He said that even in the most unthinkable suffering, a person still has the freedom to choose their response. That's power. He owned his pain, and through it, he built a philosophy of life that has inspired millions. He could have been bitter. He could have let the pain define him, but instead he defined himself through it. You might not be in a prison camp, but maybe you're in the prison of your own mistakes. Maybe you're chained to the pain of a childhood where you were overlooked, abused, or ignored. Maybe you're still carrying the pain of a dream that failed. Listen to me, you can't inspire anybody with a story you're still running from. But the moment you own it, truly own it, you flip the script. What was once shame becomes strength. What was once weakness becomes wisdom. There's a reason great leaders, prophets, and warriors throughout history always talk about struggle. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. That's it. The very thing blocking you is the very path forward. Your pain is not a dead end. It is the doorway to your rising. And don't get it twisted. Owning your pain doesn't mean wallowing in it. It doesn't mean telling yourself over and over how much you hurt. It means facing it with courage, learning the lesson, and then using it as fuel. It means saying, yes, I was broken, but I am not ashamed of my scars. My scars are proof that I healed, proof that I endured, proof that I'm still standing. So I need you to stop running, stop hiding, stop numbing. Look pain in the eye and say, you will not control me. You will not silence me. You will not own me. I own you, and I will use you to rise. The moment you own your pain is the moment your pain loses its power over you. All right, let's expand key point 3, forgiveness and self-compassion, into a 650-word speech segment, keeping the tone raw, flowing, and aligned with Rebuild Yourself, vertical bar, rise and inspire. One of the hardest battles you'll ever fight is not with the world, not with your enemies, but with yourself. The truth is, most people are not chained by what others did to them. They are chained by what they keep doing to themselves. They replay every mistake, every failure, every wrong decision like a movie on repeat. They live in guilt and shame and regret. But you can't rise if you keep dragging the dead weight of yesterday into tomorrow. Forgiveness is not about pretending the wound never happened. It's about choosing to stop letting that wound define you. Think about it. How can you rebuild when your hands are full of broken pieces you refuse to let go of? You cannot build a new foundation if you are still clutching the rubble of the old. Forgiveness is releasing what you can't change, so you have the strength to create what you can. Now, I know some of you hear the word forgiveness and think it's about letting somebody else off the hook. No, it's about letting yourself off the hook. It's about refusing to be imprisoned by bitterness. As the great philosopher Buddha once said, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. The one who suffers is not the one you hate, it's you. But let me take it deeper. Forgiveness is not just about others, it's about self-compassion. And this is where many of us struggle. We can forgive our friends, our family, sometimes even strangers, but we can't forgive ourselves. We punish ourselves over and over again for the same mistake. But hear me, if you don't learn how to show mercy to yourself, you'll never be free to rise. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine you're teaching a child how to ride a bike. The child falls, scrapes their knee, and starts crying. Do you scream at them? Do you say you're worthless? You'll never get it right. No, you help them up, you encourage them, and you let them try again. Yet when we fall in life, that's exactly how we talk to ourselves. We kick ourselves when we're already down. What sense does that make? If you wouldn't talk that way to a child, why do you talk that way to yourself? Here's a quote I live by: forgiveness is not weakness, it's the courage to rebuild without chains. You can't rise if you're shackled to the guilt of yesterday. You gotta make peace with your past so your future can breathe. History is full of people who understood this truth. Take Nelson Mandela, who after 27 years in prison, walked out not with bitterness, but with forgiveness. Imagine that. Almost 3 decades stolen, yet he chose compassion, not hatred. And in doing so, he rebuilt not just himself, but an entire nation. Now, if a man can forgive a system that robbed him of nearly half his life, then surely you can forgive the mistakes you've made, the people who let you down, and the moments that broke you. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's transforming. It's taking the ashes of what was and using them as the soil for what will be. And self-compassion is understanding that failure doesn't mean finality, it means formation. You are not the sum of your mistakes. You are the product of your resilience. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive." That means every new day is another chance. If life has given you breath today, it has given you permission to rebuild. Stop denying yourself that gift by living in yesterday's shadows. So yes, forgive those who wronged you, but more importantly, forgive yourself. Show compassion to the person in the mirror, because until you do, you keep sabotaging your rise. Let go of the chains, release the weight, rebuild with freedom, not with guilt. When you learn to forgive and show compassion to yourself, you don't just rebuild, you finally rise unchained. One of the greatest lies people tell themselves is that their circumstances are someone else's fault. It's easy to point fingers at your parents for what they didn't give you, at your boss for what they took from you, at your past for what it cost you. You can't rebuild if you're waiting on someone else to fix the cracks. Nobody's coming to rescue you. Nobody's going to live your dream for you. Nobody's going to hand you the life you want. You got to stop waiting for permission and start moving with intention. As the Greek philosopher Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That means life can throw its punches, but how you respond, that's on you. Now listen, I'm not saying bad things don't happen. They do. People betray you. Jobs disappear, economies crash, doors close. But responsibility is about saying, even if I didn't cause this, I still control what I do next. That's where your freedom begins. Take the story of Joseph from ancient scripture. Betrayed by his own brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, lied on, locked in prison. Yet through it all, he never let bitterness control him. He took responsibility for his attitude, for his work ethic, for his faith. And in the end, the same world that tried to bury him had to elevate him. That's what happens when you stop blaming and start building. Here's a line I live by. Excuses build walls, responsibility builds doors. Every time you make an excuse, you're stacking another brick between you and your dream. Every time you own your choices, you're cutting a door that leads you closer to your destiny. Let me give you a practical picture. Imagine your car breaks down on the side of the road. You can sit there all day blaming the manufacturer, blaming the weather, blaming the miles you drove. But guess what? Until you get out and do something, you're not moving. Blame keeps you stuck. Responsibility gets you moving. Think about the wealth builders, the leaders, the ones who left legacies. They all had one thing in common: ownership. They didn't wait on luck. They worked with what they had. They didn't complain about the soil. They planted seeds anyway. They didn't cry about the storm. They learned how to sail in it. Responsibility gave them freedom. And I get it. It's hard to look in the mirror and admit, I had a part in this. My choices matter. My habits matter. My attitude matters. But that's where your strength begins. Blame feels comfortable, but it makes you powerless. Responsibility feels heavy at first, but it makes you unstoppable. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. That's the mindset of a builder. That's the mindset of someone who refuses to be a victim. So stop asking why me and start asking what now. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions and start working with the broken ones. Stop pointing fingers and start using your hands to build, because the moment you accept that it's on you, that's the moment you take back control. And here's the beautiful thing. When you take responsibility, you inspire others to do the same. You stop the cycle of blame that keeps families, communities, even entire nations stuck. Your rise gives others permission to rise. The day you take full responsibility for your life is the day you unlock the power to rebuild it. Everybody loves to talk about dreams, about vision, about goals. But dreams without discipline are just wishes, and wishes don't rebuild anything. You don't rise because you want to. You rise because you're willing to pay the price every single day. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. And if you don't cross it, you stay stuck in the rubble of what was. See, motivation will get you started, but motivation will not sustain you. Motivation is like a spark. It burns bright for a moment, but if you don't add wood, if you don't add fuel, the fire dies. Discipline is that fuel. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when the feelings are gone. As Aristotle once said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. That means your rebuild doesn't happen in one grand gesture. It happens in the daily choices nobody sees. Think about a builder constructing a house. They don't show up one day, throw some bricks together and call it done. No, they lay the foundation brick by brick, day by day, even when it's raining, even when it's hot, even when they're tired. That's discipline, and your life is no different. If you want to rise, you got to build brick by brick with consistency. Let me give you a practical example. Somebody says, I want to rebuild my finances. Great. Here's a line I live by: discipline doesn't take away your freedom. It gives it back. Because when you're disciplined with your money, you're not enslaved to debt. When you're disciplined with your body, you're not enslaved to sickness. When you're disciplined with your time, you're not enslaved to regret. Discipline is not the enemy of freedom. It's the path to it. History is full of proof. Look at the great Stoic leaders like Marcus Aurelius. He was emperor of Rome, facing constant wars, betrayals, and hardships. Yet he lived by discipline, discipline of the mind, discipline of the spirit. That's why his writings and meditations still guide people today, because discipline outlasts circumstances. And let's be real, you won't always feel like doing what you need to do. Feelings are inconsistent. Discipline is steady. Feelings say, I'm tired, I'm discouraged, I'll do it tomorrow. Discipline says, no excuses, today matters. Discipline is, but here's where the real power of discipline shows up. When you rebuild through discipline, you don't just inspire others, you create a legacy. Your children, your family, your community, they don't just hear your words, they see your habits. And habits are contagious. Discipline spreads strength. Imagine a farmer planting seeds. He doesn't see the harvest on day one, but he keeps showing up, plowing, watering, tending the soil, and eventually the harvest comes. That's the law of discipline. It may feel invisible at first, but over time it produces results too big to hide. So don't tell me about your dreams, show me your discipline. Don't tell me you want to rise, show me how you handle the days you don't feel like it. Because the truth is, discipline is the difference between people who almost rebuild and people who actually do. Discipline is the hammer and chisel that shapes the broken pieces of your life into the masterpiece of your rise. You can't rebuild your life surrounded by the same people who watched you break. Not everybody who claps for you wants you to rise, and not everybody who walks with you is walking in your direction. Your circle is either your ladder or your anchor. It will either lift you higher or hold you down. And if you want to rise, you got to choose wisely who stands around you. Think about this: iron sharpens iron. But if you spend your life surrounded by wood and plastic, you'll stay dull. Some of you keep wondering why you can't get momentum, why you feel drained, why you can't break cycles. It's because you're trying to rebuild with people who secretly hope you stay broken. The great philosopher Socrates once said, be slow to fall into friendship, but when thou art in, continue firm and constant. He understood that your relationships define your direction. Who you walk with shapes who you become. Show me your circle and I'll show you your future. Look at history. Alexander the Great wasn't just powerful because of his vision. He was powerful because of the generals, the mentors, the warriors who stood with him. His circle expanded his reach. But on the flip side, think of Julius Caesar. Surrounded by those who pretended loyalty, he was betrayed by his closest circle. The wrong people can be more dangerous than the strongest enemy. Here's the truth. I live by the company you keep will either build your walls or build your wings. If you surround yourself with people who gossip, complain, and settle, don't be surprised when you start living at their level. But if you surround yourself with builders, visionaries, people who push you and challenge you, you'll find yourself rising to heights you never imagined. Let me give you a practical picture. Imagine trying to rebuild a house after a storm. You've got one friend who brings bricks, another who brings tools, another who helps lift beams. Together, you rebuild faster and stronger. But imagine if those same friends stood there criticizing, stealing your materials, or tearing down what you just built. That's what happens when you keep the wrong circle. You waste energy fighting sabotage instead of building your future. Even the wealth builders of old knew this truth. Look at King Solomon, known as one of the wisest and wealthiest men of his time. His circle included advisors who sharpened his decisions, people who brought counsel, not chaos. That's why his reign produced peace and prosperity. He didn't just build wealth. He built wisely by choosing who surrounded him. But here's the challenge. Sometimes the hardest part of rebuilding is letting go of people who can't go with you. Some friends were good for the old season, but they can't handle the new one. Some relationships made sense in your brokenness, but they don't belong in your rise. It's painful, but it's necessary, because not everybody has the strength to carry the weight of your rebuilding. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." I'll take it further. The happiness of your life also depends upon the quality of your circle. The wrong voices in your ear will pollute your thoughts. The right voices will purify your focus. So ask yourself, who's in your circle? Are they builders or breakers? Do they inspire you to rise or drag you back into the rubble? Because the truth is, you can't rebuild alone, but you also can't rebuild with everybody. The strength of your rise will always be measured by the strength of your circle. Pain. It's the one teacher nobody signs up for, but it's the one teacher every single one of us meets. And here's the truth. Pain will either paralyze you or it will transform you. The same fire that melts wax hardens clay. It's not the fire that decides is what you're made of. And when life breaks you, when you're left with nothing but scars, you have a choice. Stay shattered or let pain forge you into something unbreakable. Listen to me, pain is not punishment. Pain is preparation. Every time you've been hurt, every time you've been betrayed, every time life knocked you flat, it was shaping something inside you that comfort never could. Comfort keeps you the same. Pain pushes you to change. Heraclitus, the ancient Greek philosopher, once said, "Out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars." That means the very scars you try to hide might be the evidence of your transformation. The wound you thought would end you becomes the wisdom that rebuilds you. Think about nature. A seed cannot grow into a tree until it's buried in darkness, pressed by soil, broken open by pressure. The very process that seems like death is actually the beginning of life. That's what pain does. It buries you, it presses you, it breaks you open, but in that breaking is the birth of your rise. Let me give you a practical example. Somebody loses their job, and at first it feels like the end. Bills pile up, fear sets in, shame whispers that they failed. But in that pain, they discover a hunger to build something of their own. That setback pushes them to start a business, to create, to innovate. And years later, they look back and realize that what felt like the end was actually the start of a whole new life. That's transformation through pain. Here's a line I live by: pain is not the enemy of your purpose. It's the evidence you're still alive for it, because only the living feel pain. And if you're breathing, if you're hurting, that means there's still more ahead of you. History is full of this truth. Look at Job from the ancient text, who lost everything, wealth, family, health, yet through unimaginable suffering, he found a deeper faith and greater restoration. His story wasn't about the loss, it was about the transformation birthed through pain. Or take Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, born into slavery, abused and broken, yet out of his suffering came wisdom that still transforms minds centuries later. But here's the challenge. You can't just go through pain. You have to grow through pain. Because some people let pain make them bitter, while others let pain make them better. It's not what happens to you. It's what you choose to do with it. When you rebuild, don't hide your scars. Use them. Your scars are proof you survived the fire. And when people see your scars, they see resilience. They see hope. They see that if you could rise after what you've been through, maybe they can too. That's how your transformation becomes someone else's inspiration. And let me remind you, pain doesn't last forever. It feels permanent, but it's temporary. What lasts forever is the strength, the wisdom, the resilience it produces. A storm never stays, but the tree that survives, it grows roots so deep, no wind can tear it down again. So stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this pain teaching me? Stop running from it and start rebuilding with it. Because pain is not a wall, it's a doorway. Walk through it and you'll find strength you never knew was possible. The very pain that tried to destroy you is the same pain that will transform you into the person who inspires others to rise. You've heard the message. You felt the weight of it in your chest. Now it's your turn to decide, will you stay buried in the rubble or will you rise and rebuild? Because life will not hand you the future you dream of. You must build it. You must fight for it. You must discipline yourself, surround yourself with builders, embrace your pain, and turn every scar into a source of strength. Remember this, every great empire was once ruins. Every mighty oak was once a broken seed. Every champion was once a wounded soul who refused to quit. And so are you. You are proof that broken does not mean finished, and struggle does not mean defeated. This is not about waiting for the perfect time. The perfect time is now. Take ownership, take responsibility, and step into the life you were created for. Rebuild yourself piece by piece. Rise above every storm and inspire the world with the testimony of your comeback. Stand up, move forward. Don't whisper your story, live it loud. The world is waiting to see you rise, and when you do, you won't just rebuild yourself, you'll rebuild others too.